Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel Bookaholic Brahmanim. This is the end of the first month of 2021. We together as a world went through it without major catastrophes or disasters, mostly peacefully. And here in India we celebrated our 71st Republic Day, which I would personally would have liked to call Constitution Day. Nevertheless, we celebrated it. President Trump exited the White House, and I exited the month with 6 reads. I know it is an abysmally small number of books to have read in a month, in a whole month, 30 days. But that was because I was stuck with this monstrously huge beauty of a book called A Little Life, about which I have been gushing about in my reading vlog and my previous videos. I'm not going to talk much about it. Nevertheless, I finished 6 books. So without further ado, let's get on with what I read in January 2021. The first book that I read was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is a very commonplace story, nothing new about it. This girl called Ellie, when she is around 15 years of age, she goes out to school or to playground or something, and then she is lost. She never comes back home, and over the years the police and neighbors and citizens along with the families search for the girl, and the girl is nowhere to be found. Everybody moves on, including her father and sister and brother, except for her mother. The mother is so consumed by the grief that she drives everybody else away. So she's estranged from her husband, now ex-husband, and her other daughter and her son. At some point, after 10 years of this incident, she decides to straighten up her life, decides to have a social life, and she starts dating this guy. And this guy has a daughter, apparently, who is a spitting image of her long lost daughter Ellie. And this girl's name is Poppy, and she gave me the creeps. I mean, she gave me the vibe of the girl from Orphan. She acted older than her age. I thought that something was really wrong with this girl Poppy, but I was clearly wrong. I know that some people complained that this book was too predictable and that's why they did not like it, but for me, till the time I reached about 70% into the book, I couldn't predict what the author is going to reveal. However, what I really loved about this book, there are two things. One is that there is a part of the book where they show the story from the POV of the lost girl, what happens to her, and it's really, really horrifying and sad. I had tears in my eyes. And the second part was what happens at the end to one of the characters. I would say it was the noble thing to do, but yeah, it was kind of touching. So you have trigger warning of suicide, of torture, etc. So be warned. If you ask me about the rating as such in numbers, I would rate this, let's just say 3. It was not a great book, but it was okay. You could read it just for entertainment. Don't look for life lessons. So that was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. The second book I read this year was an unfortunately, unremarkably boring book, and it is called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Now, I went into the book with so much of expectation because I'm a huge fan of John Green, who is Hank Green's brother, and I have been following both of them for a long time on YouTube, their vlog channel called Vlog Brothers. I love the content that they put there, and I'm a huge fan of The Fault in Our Stars. So considering all this, you can't blame me for expecting a lot from this book, but I was so underwhelmed, and not just underwhelmed, I was so irritated and I was so pissed off that I wanted to DNF this book, but I did not want to DNF this book because this was the first month of the year and I didn't want to have something so negative in my reading life. So I pushed myself to complete the book. The premise of the book is very good. It could have been a great urban science fiction novel, but it turned out to be very pretentious. So the story goes like this. There is this girl called April May, and she is walking back from her very boring work in the middle of the night in New York City, and all of a sudden, on the pavement, she finds a sculpture made of certain material or some kind of metal just standing there. She calls up a friend and he comes down and they make a small video about it and upload it into social media. And then all this while she's bragging that, you know, she is not a social media person, she doesn't have a Twitter account, she is more an artsy person, she goes to art museum and enjoy the arts and all that. And the next day when she gets up, she realizes that the video has gone viral, and this guy calls up and says, hey, we have got call from this TV channel, from this movie makers, and from this book publisher and all that. Like, it happens over a 2 day span, all this, but I'm just condensing it. But all of a sudden they are stars and people are screaming for them, and especially her, she gets all the attention. I don't know for what reason, she just took a video of a sculpture and just posted it. Later they realized that it's some kind of an alien material because the material is not found on the earth. With the help of some scientist she meets online during all this frenzy. The funny part is all this fandom starts even before people realize it's an alien stuff that she has shot. And also, this is not the only sculpture. These kind of sculptures have appeared all over the world, so it's not just a unique thing that happened in New York City where this girl April May has found it. But somehow, because she is in New York, and I don't know for what reason, Hank Green thought that, okay, April May is the only one worth mentioning, and okay, anyways, that's author's choice. We just have to go with the flow. But why do you want to make your main character so obnoxious? I couldn't relate with her. I did not want to vouch for her. I did not want to do anything with her. I couldn't relate to her. She came across as a bigot. And on top of that, she, because of all this fame she is all of a sudden getting, she is being a complete bitch to her girlfriend, and she tries to shut her down. And even though she is trying to get help from her, but she doesn't want to do anything romantically anymore with her. She's been using her all this time, and she's continued doing that. There is no reason given why is she doing it. She just says that I'm too busy, I have too much to do. Even when the girlfriend is so understanding, I have no idea why she's being such a biatch. This is the premise of the story. From there it goes to very unremarkable set of incidents. It's all about her. It is very funny that this girl is interested in is in getting whatever information is out there, that she has to post it first and she has to get the attention, she has to get the credit for it. She is least bothered in finding out what it is, or there is no scientific curiosity in her, or at least the author has not made us feel that. All she's worried about is her Twitter likes. And this is from a person who, like a week ago, did not even have a Twitter account, who did not care for social media, who denounced and looked down upon people who are frenzy for social media. And now all of a sudden she's become a social media diva, and and likes and shares is all she is worried about. I really do not know how this book has so many fans. Like I said, it had a huge potential to become a great book, but it almost felt like Hank Green had some time during his lunch breaks. He jotted down certain sentences on the sticky notes and just clipped all together and sent it to the editor, and that's how it looks like. Even the writing is very dry. There is no great prose or anything. It's just bland. It fell flat for me. That's the second book that I read. Next book I read was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. As you know, it's a quite hyped up book. A lot of good reviews about this book. I went to the book expecting a story something like Recursion. It was something like that. So there is this girl, Nora Seed. She lives somewhere in England. She's so down with her luck, and she is plagued by depression. She is kind of lonely. She recently lost her cat, and she decides to end her life. And instead of not existing, she reaches this purgatorial library kind of a place where she encounters this person who takes her through the rest of the journey. Yeah, I'll not spoil the rest of it. Basically, the story is what we have heard many, many times. Basically, it is a novelized version of how our life choices defines the life that we get to live. The book is filled with cliches like book of regrets and oh dad, I never told you I love you, the signals that you never saw in the relationships that you had, etc., etc., filled with cliches. However, the concept was very interesting. I really liked it. Had the potential to become a great book. For me, it became an average book. The writing was kind of dry and bland. I would rate this book 2.5. I rated it 3 on Goodreads, but now when I think back, I think maybe 2.5 and not more than that. So that's, let's say, an average rating. The next book in the list is a 5-starer after a very disappointing train of average and below average books. It was a refreshing read for me. I'm talking about Sadie by Courtney Summers. I would have given this book 4 or 4.5, but I did not read this book. I listened to the audiobook, and the voice actors and the background music was so amazing. It was so well done that I cannot think of giving it anything less than 5 stars. It was so brilliantly done, and this, I have to admit, this is my first audiobook ever, and what an experience it was. Guys, I was always a skeptic when it comes to audiobooks, but now I am a huge fan. It's an experience altogether. Sadie is a typical girl goes missing story, and somebody dear to her desperately trying to find her. You get 2 POVs in this book, one from the POV of Sadie herself, and the second is from the perspective of a podcaster who is assigned by Sadie's adoptive grandmother to find her. So basically, Sadie is out to find the murderer of her younger sister Maddie, who died a while ago, and she is in a quest to find the murderer. This is a perfect example of how you can take a very commonplace, not so unique story, and then add your own flavor to it and make it your own and make it fantastic and make people just gush over it. Are you listening, Hank Green? If you already have the physical book, I would really recommend you to pick up the audiobook as well and listen to it. It is a treat. I'm guaranteeing you. Just do it. The next book that I read was The City of Ghosts by V.E. Schwab. The V.E. Schwab, so you already know that the book was great. I really enjoyed this book, but I did not find this great. But due to no fault of the author, but because of my own fault, because I did not know while starting this book that it was a middle grade book. And I read this, I got the famous five Nancy Drew vibes, and I was like, okay, maybe it'll pick up after some time, and then it did not, and it continued in the same pace and the same way. And then I checked Goodreads, and that's when I realized that yes, it is a middle grader book. So it's all on me. I mean, it was my mistake. I didn't know that. But then since I started and the story was interesting, I continued listening to it. The story is about this girl called Cassidy. So she had a near-death experience, and after that, she is always accompanied she is tangled in life with this ghost of a boy called Jacob. And they're always together. They become best friends, and she can essentially see ghosts. And her parents are paranormal researchers. They write books based on paranormal and supernatural activities, but ironically, they do not experience any ghost. Anyways, as part of their job, they go to Scotland, and they take along Cassidy, and along with Cassidy, Jacob also goes there, and the whole story is about what happens to them there. The book is very atmospheric. You can actually feel Scotland. You can see the mountains. You can see the castles. The way V. Schwab explains it. It's very well written book. But if you are not a middle grader, don't venture into it. You might feel a little bit disappointed. I wasn't disappointed, but I would have expected not to read a middle grader's book when I am nearly 40 years old. Otherwise, it was a delight reading it. I would rate it 3.5 and a middle grader might rate it 4.5. So, yeah, that's the fifth book that I read. The sixth book that I read is, drum roll please, no points for guessing. I have talked about this book a lot in my reading log and in my book review. I will not be talking about it anymore. Yeah, all I'm going to tell about this book is that Yanagihara has written an epic of a book, a true modern classic. Go and read it. That's all I'm going to tell about it. So those were the list of 6 books that I have read. If I'm not reading any more humongous monsters like this, I'm sure I can finish more books next month. Please let me know if you have any suggestions which books I should read. Also, if you know of good quality audiobooks, please let me know. If you like this video, please like and share and comment. Please interact and also subscribe to my channel and help me grow so that I can make more and more bookish contents for you. So until next time, this is Angela signing off. Bye.